Channel 4 is next.
From Burnsville to Battle Lake, people are turning out to work for Mike Hatch.
Well, I haven't seen this many people in Battle Lake since opening day of fishing.
They all have one cause, to help Mike become the next governor of Minnesota.
I loved your letter. Thank you. It was very special.
I loved yours, too.
Thank you.
If you need anything from down the southern part of the state.
We're going to work hard, right? We're going to get there. Right, right.
Mike Hatch, you're going to like this governor.
Everybody knows that milk's for babies, so charming, disarming, whatever they do. Everybody knows that milk's for babies, and when you know it, baby, milk's for you. Soft baby skin, strong baby bones, bright baby smile, and ooh, great muscle tone. Wouldn't you know it, baby, milk's for you. It's a health kick, baby.
What I remember most about student teaching with Mrs. Thurman is one morning when someone showed up at the classroom door, and I watched the most wonderful reunion. And ever since, I've always hoped my own students would understand that what I tried to give them lasts forever. And some of them do.
Ashland Oil believes teachers change lives.
From WCCO Television, the community's first choice for news in the 90s. This is Don Shelby, Colleen Needles, Mike Fairborn, and Mark Rosen. And this is the 10 o'clock news.
Good evening. It has been a big day of big events, a day, too, when we have a story to bring you that you won't find on any other newscast tonight.
So the top of our 10 o'clock news will be laid out like this. First, we'll give you the headlines for tonight on everything from the state legislature convening to the continuing events in South Africa to a proposal to move people out of their homes to expand the airport.
And after coverage of the day's events, we have an in-depth story on the shutdown of a daycare center after an investigation of alleged sexual contact between children there. The parents of these children side with the daycare owner and say the whole thing is a big mistake. That's for later.
We begin our look at events with the opening of the 1990 legislative session. The Minnesota legislature called to order its 1990 session this afternoon. It's supposed to be a short session, but there is no shortage of legislation. Lawmakers are expected to consider tougher anti-drug laws. They'll need to find ways of avoiding a budget deficit, and a major anti-abortion bill is already on the table, although the House Speaker says there may not be time to take it up.
It's going to be difficult, just from a process standpoint, to deal with all that in what will be a very short session.
For tomorrow, lawmakers have a full list of meetings on their schedules. The Senate Ethics Committee takes up an ethics bill at noon. There's a mandatory workshop on sexual harassment. And the House Environment Committee hears an overview of Minnesota timber harvesting. Some environmentalists are saying the DNR is overselling our timber resources, that we don't have enough wood to supply mill expansions like that at Boise Cascade in International Falls. That hearing is at 10 a.m.
On the national front, President Bush touched on a number of topics at a news conference this afternoon. He predicts success for his June summit with Soviet leader Gorbachev, despite a reported snag in talks concerning troop cuts in Europe. The president is sticking to his proposal to let the U.S. have 30,000 more troops than the USSR in Europe.
Those troops are not wanted in Eastern Europe anymore. Our troops are wanted by the free world.
The president has another reason for wanting a troop advantage. He says the Soviets can expand quickly in a crisis while the U.S. is an ocean away. Also, Soviet leaders today called for a strengthening of the office of the president of the Soviet Union, which is currently held by Mr. Gorbachev. As for the case of Nelson Mandela, both the United States and the Soviet Union are praising South Africa for releasing the jailed black leader.
But President Bush says it's not time yet to lift sanctions because the white government of South Africa has yet to meet all U.S. conditions. Mandela spent his first morning of freedom in Cape Town at the home of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He, too, urged all nations not to lift their sanctions yet.
Nothing has changed. You must remember that the demand in this country is for a non-racial society. We are very far from that.
Though he praised the sincerity of South African President de Klerk, Mandela says in the struggle against apartheid, even violence is justified.
Back here at home, the city of Richfield is looking at a novel way to fight airport noise, not by cutting the noise levels, but by moving people out of the noisy neighborhoods. The city is considering buying out the 342 homes in one neighborhood called New Fordtown that borders the airport. Mike Walsher has the story.
Richfield says the best way to end airport noise in this neighborhood is to buy out the neighborhood. City planners recommend paying fair market value for these homes and then tearing them down to make way for an office warehouse complex. Some residents welcome a buyout.
We've only been here 3 years, and we came here not realizing the extent of the noise that we would have to put up with during the warm weather months. Now, other families who've lived here for 20, 30 years are probably going to be very upset. They don't want to have their roots pulled out from under them, but we'll be happy.
But others are not so excited.
We've heard it so many times off and on that I won't believe it till it happens.
Tonight, the Richfield City Council was informed that a total buyout would cost $30 million. It's not clear where that money would come from or how much Richfield will have to contribute. The total buyout option encourages the Airport Commission to build a new passenger terminal and parking lots at the west end of the airport.
If nothing else, Richfield is hoping that this proposal will slow down all the talk about the need for a new airport by making it easier to upgrade the present airport. I'm Mike Walsher, WCCO Television News in Richfield.
There are several other stories to report tonight. The first concerns Senator Dave Durenberger and more than $900,000 in loans he got from a St. Paul bank over 10 years. Top executives of the commercial state bank answered questions for State Commerce Commissioner Tom Borman today. Most of the loans were unsecured, and more than half were below the prime rate. Borman says his main concern is whether the loans threatened the bank's financial health.
This institution is so sound. We're really a long ways away from that, even if they did violate a policy. And we have no information yet that they do. Everything we've received today is to the contrary.
Also tonight, a radical school improvement concept that would give a whole new look to the state's educational structure. Right now, students attend classes in schools that belong to 436 different districts. State Board of Education member Doug Wallace wants to abolish those districts. He says each individual school should control its own money and be answerable to the state. Right now, the proposal is just in the discussion stages. There is a lot that would have to happen before it would take effect.
And now to that daycare story we were telling you about earlier. You've probably heard other stories about problems at daycare centers, the McMartin case in California, for instance. Parents angry over alleged molestation of their kids in care. But the problem is different at the Phillips Neighborhood Child Care Center in South Minneapolis. Trish Van Pilsen reports the parents side with the owner in this case. She is accused of neglecting children who may have been involved in sexual contact with each other.
Okay, put them in here.
These are some of the children of Lynn Mayo's daycare center. The center is closed now, but the kids often play together as friends. The center has been closed for a year, ever since Hennepin County Child Protection ruled that children were involved in sexual behavior, nude play, French kissing, and masturbation, and that Lynn Mayo did nothing to stop it.
There's almost nothing worse, I think, for us. And to have that charge levied against me was incredible.
It's only when it appears that there's some fairly imminent and serious risk to the health or safety of the children that we would go for an immediate revocation of a license.
According to Mayo, the allegations came from a former employee whom Mayo had fired. These public documents show no indication that county investigators were able to confirm the claims. The parents don't believe them. All 12 families kept their kids at the school until the state closed it. The parents are now supporting Mayo and criticizing the county investigator.
It wasn't an investigation. They were leading me on. I saw them leading my daughter on, saying fact that I know at that point was allegation.
And they came into it with an attitude that it was already pretty definite that this was all happening, and all they had to do was gather enough information to positively prove it, prove what they already knew.
Lynn Mayo appealed this case to an administrative law judge. The judge ruled in her favor, writing that state and county authorities couldn't prove she'd neglected the children and couldn't prove the children had been in any danger. The state now says Mayo can go back into the daycare business if she wants to, but despite the judge's ruling, refuses to clear her of all charges.
It's a case of incredible incompetence and arrogance and lack of experience. They're going to miss places where there is abuse because they're not paying attention and they're not listening. And they're going to see abuse when it doesn't exist.
The daycare center remains closed. Mayo says her full-time job now is to lobby for changes in the child protection system, a system she believes hurts parents, child care providers, and most of all, the children. With Dave Roderick, Trish Van Pilsum, WCCO Television News in Minneapolis.
In a recent memo, the State Human Services Commissioner admits parts of the investigation were flawed and that there was no evidence to support the most serious charges against Mayo. Lynn Mayo has spent 12 months and $20,000 fighting this case.
There is one more story to report in this first segment. It is about a Soviet boy's first day of school in Rochester, Minnesota. Today, second graders from Lincoln Elementary got to ask the doctor questions about their new classmate. 7-year-old Igor Layden is over 6 foot 2 inches tall. He is undergoing treatment at the Mayo Clinic for a rare growth disorder. While in Rochester, Igor will go to school to try and improve his English. And today, his new friends welcomed him with an early Valentine, Mickey Mouse style.
Now, what was it he said that would make him feel most welcome? He asked the kids asked him what would make him feel most welcome.
Didn't he say 5 pizzas delivered?
Yes, I think
to
that,
the gym.
I think that would make anybody
that
feel
would make
welcome.
me happy.
Still a lot more to tell you about tonight after weather. Why sweets for the sweets on Valentine's Day are so popular. Chocoholics. Stay tuned.
And in sports, after a season of frustration for Vikings fans, a new man with an offensive plan joins the team. Is Schnelker gone?
And then next in Dimension, inspiration from kids living their lives with long-term illnesses.
You're watching the 10 o'clock news on Channel 4.
Looking into a new washer or dryer? Now's the time, because this week, every washer and dryer is on sale at Best Buy. Top name brands, all marked down so you can clean up.
Every day of your life.
Solid things. Pride, dedication. Anderson windows and patio doors are built to stand the test of time.
Through the cold and snow, through the years of rain, from the plains of the Dakotas to the coast of Maine. Anderson, build your dreams of solid things. We'll build tomorrow in. Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
For long-lasting control of tough broadleaf weeds, get Banvel herbicide. Overpower tough broadleaves with Banvel, the no-atrazine alternative.
It's sure to be a big-time Big Ten showdown as Ramil Robinson and the rest of the Michigan Wolverines come to town to take on the Gophers. Thursday night at 7 on Channel 4.
Tonight in Dimension, we continue our series called Child's Play the Hard Way. It's a look at how children cope with chronic illness.
Last night, we saw how dealing with a child's illness can actually draw a family closer together. Tonight, we focus on the patients themselves. These kids aren't terminally ill. They have diseases or disabilities that will last their entire lifetime. Cindy Hilger spent time with 3 young people who've spent the better part of their childhood with a chronic illness and have learned to live with it.
It goes this way when you're a child and keep getting sick. For some, daily trips to the school nurse for a blood check. For others, regular trips to the hospital for tests, treatments, sometimes surgery. And eventually, an adult life filled with reflection.
Don't let it take control of your life. Let life control it.
Molly is confined to a wheelchair because her spine did not develop properly before birth. She's in her early 20s and has lived through 43 operations.
I make it past a certain mark, and I finally do, and I fooled all of them.
Molly is long past being angry about her disability, and despite her frequent surgeries, she has never put her life on hold, waiting for the next one.
I just keep going and just forget that I'm in these four wheels. You try to be as able-bodied as you can.
20 years ago, Molly faced a life of chronic illness. Mike Kern faces it today. He's 8 and has diabetes.
Here, I got these from
At that age, that disease is very serious. Adults can often manage it with diet alone. Mike cannot. 4 times a day, he must have his blood tested. 4 times a day, he gives himself an insulin shot.
I just give myself the shot.
What was that like, having to learn how to give yourself a shot?
I didn't like it at first.
Really? That's fun.
Mike and his mom must also keep a close eye on what he eats. He has regular snacks of crackers and cheese or fruit roll-ups. This 8-year-old rarely eats junk food.
Is that kind of hard not to be able to eat junk food as an 8-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of like it, but I don't really eat it that much.
You gotta see this.
He and his older brother, Joey, are very close. They look alike, play the same sports, and share the responsibility for taking care of the family guinea pigs, Kirby and Herbie. The main difference? Joey Kern doesn't have diabetes.
Do you sometimes wish you were your brother?
Yeah.
Why?
I think if I don't have to do this.
Children like Mike typify what is being done today in pediatrics. Hospitals are seeing more and more chronic illness because kids are being saved today when they couldn't be 15 or 20 years ago. But there is an important issue that goes along with the increased survival rate. How, at a very young age, children can cope with an illness they know will never go away.
I'm going to just take this off a second. Maybe the spasm will stop.
Cope is something Dana Peterson is trying very hard to do right now. Up until 3 years ago, she was a typical kid growing up in Amory, Wisconsin. Then at age 12, Dana developed Crohn's disease, which sent her colon into spasms.
It wasn't real fair, I didn't think, and I thought maybe I did something wrong. I couldn't really, I don't know, just all different mixed feelings.
Stomach pain puts Dana in St. Paul Children's Hospital several times every year. And at age 15, being away from home and friends isn't easy.
I miss a lot of school, and it's hard to come back and make it up, and then with my friends, it's like I come back and there's a lot of change things, you know. Things are different with everybody.
Dana is old enough to have some say in what happens to her body. During this visit, Dana must decide whether to put a semi-permanent catheter into a vein over her heart. The tube will feed her.
I guess if it makes me better, I'll try it, because there's not really much I can do.
The day of the surgery, we see a different Dana. Nervous. Hesitant. Very frightened.
Mary, would you like to help me?
She comes through it okay and goes home this week, but she'll probably be back next month for more surgery.
They say God only gives you what you can handle, so I guess we're handling it.
Handling it is what being chronically ill is all about. These children are living. They're just having to do it the hard way. For Dimension, I'm Cindy Hilcher.
Doctors say perhaps the most important thing for a child with a chronic illness to learn is how to manage it as early as possible.
Yeah, and I guess they also say that a child should understand that in most cases, if they take care of themselves at a young age, then they'll live healthier lives as they become adults.
Rebates on lots of cars, but only Oldsmobile has the double rebate. That's right, the double rebate. Pick any new Oldsmobile 88 Royale in dealer inventory. Get $1,000 cash back from the factory. Then double that and get another $1,000 cash back. $2,000. It's the double rebate, only on the 1990 Oldsmobile 88 Royale, and only at your participating new generation of Oldsmobile dealer.
DHL was making express deliveries overseas before Federal Express was even in business. With a head start like that, we can simply do things others can't. DHL, faster to more of the world.
On WCCO Radio, we have 186 different news segments every day. From world and local news to business, weather, sports, and more. Turn to WCCO AM Radio 830, where the news runs like clockwork. On WCCO Radio, we've got Boone and Erickson in the morning and Steve Cannon in the afternoon. So turn to WCCO AM Radio 830. We've got you coming and going.
On Inside Edition, our Gallup survey with Psychology Today reveals new attitudes. How are couples reinventing passion for the 90s? Find out on an Inside Edition special report, Faithful Attraction. Also, suspicion surrounds the untimely deaths of cult members.
We think it's murder, or some species thereof.
Can you be hypnotized to commit suicide? The mystery of mind control.
Inside Edition, Monday night at 10:35 on Channel 4.
Record high temperatures today, and that's not the only unusual thing we saw today. We have some video of a very strange occurrence. Look at that.
They shot off of Medicine Lake.
Yeah.
And they got some fog, steam coming right off of the ice.
That thermals like you would have off of a hot pavement in the middle of the summer.
Yes, that's right.
That's
Doesn't happen
unusual.
very often. No, it doesn't. But it did happen today, and Tip Copper was out there to get it, and it's been a very interesting day all the way around. 59 degrees was the high temperature today. The morning low was 23, no rain or snow. That 59 was a record. Broke the old record of 47 and the Pioneer record of 56. Right now it's cloudy and 39. We have a northwest wind at 19. That's giving us a wind chill of 21 degrees, and the barometer is rising. That Arctic invasion is already making its way into northwestern Minnesota. Temperatures are still in the 20s and 30s across southern Minnesota, but only in the single digits up north. 9 right now in Bemidji, 8 up in International Falls. And with that frontal system, a lot in the way of wind. Wind chills tonight are way below zero. 35 below in Warroad right now, 34 below up in Bemidji, 31 below in International Falls. Our air is coming right from out of the northwest, so this could be the case for us coming up tomorrow. As this storm system has moved in, it pulled up a lot of clouds through the Dakotas across southern Minnesota today. But even with the clouds out there, it still was strong enough to pull a lot of warm air into the southern part of the state. Record highs were also set at St. Cloud, where it was 52, and 52 degrees also down in Rochester. That was a record. And this has been a great storm system to be ahead of. Temperatures tonight compared to last night show that they were 17 degrees warmer tonight in Eau Claire compared to last night, 13 degrees warmer in Rochester. But while we have been anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees warmer through eastern Minnesota and through Wisconsin, behind this storm system, there were 30 to 40 degrees colder back in northwestern North Dakota. Once again, all this air is headed right for the Twin Cities, and it'll be passing over, the leading edge of this cold air will be passing over us probably around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. On the surface map tonight, here's one of the fronts. This was the cool front that passed by earlier this evening. It shifted our wind to out of the northwest. Here's the leading edge of the colder Arctic air. That should be passing over sometime around rush hour tomorrow morning. With it, as I mentioned, a lot of wind. Right now, blowing dust in Aberdeen. Also some blowing dust and sand up in Fargo and up in International Falls. Winds have been right around 20 to 35 miles per hour. But we're not looking for a lot of precipitation. This is a dry system, so we may get some flurries from time to time, but no significant snowfall out of this. And this whole week looks like it's going to be dry, as in the upper levels of the atmosphere, that airflow is going to be once again in the split flow, which means that most of the energy is going to be coming from storm systems through southern Canada, or it's going to be to our south through the central part of the U.S. But this week looks like another in a series of dry weeks for the Twin Cities. The forecast for the Twin Cities, mostly cloudy, breezy tonight with some flurries possible toward morning. Our low temperature will drop into the 20s with the northwest wind at 10 to 20. Then for tomorrow, those flurries will end with partial clearing. It'll be windy and much colder. Highs in the 20s early, then falling with the northwest wind at 15 to 30. Clear and cold tomorrow night, 2 degrees above zero for the low. And then for Wednesday, mostly sunny and cold, 18 for the high. Thursday through Saturday, we're looking for temperatures to be a little below normal. Highs around 20 and overnight lows are going to be in the single digits. And tonight's Forest Forever assignment is to name the 6 most common tree species of our hardwood forests. And those answers are oak, maple, basswood, ash, elm, and aspen. Mike Fairborn is recovering. He's doing a little bit better. He will probably not be back until next Monday. He's recovering at home. No one would like to see him here more than me.
I bet. All of us.
Yes,
all right.
That's true.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, if chocolate is any measure of your passion this Valentine's Day, you're in luck. Candy stores in the Twin Cities are chock full.
But if you are watching your weight or your cholesterol, you might want to find a Valentine alternative. Unfortunately, as health and science reporter Ann Schieber reports, there are few substitutes for the real thing.
There's something about chocolate that makes even the strongest of wills wither away. Chocolate in any form, dark or white, it's what makes eating one of life's great passions.
I don't think there's another candy that melts in your mouth the way chocolate does.
In fact, chocolate is so good, the average American puts away 11 pounds of it each year. That's almost 20,000 calories, mostly fat calories, the most difficult to burn off.
It's essentially empty calories. That is, there aren't any other nutrients that go along with the calories that you would be getting from chocolate.
And while some gourmets may argue all chocolate is not created equal, deep down inside it's all pretty much the same thing. Chocolate is nothing more than sweetened cocoa butter, which is nothing more than sweetened fat. Take away the fat and you take away chocolate's great taste and texture. That's why sugar-free chocolate and white chocolate are a poor substitute for the real thing. They have just as much fat. And if you've heard that chocolate will at least lower your cholesterol, bad news again.
Those reports have not been substantiated in scientific research.
Scientists have been trying to develop a fat substitute to make products like chocolate more healthful, and one company is pretty close. But in the meanwhile, nutrition experts recommend sticking to no-fat candies like jelly beans to satisfy a sweet tooth. But if you should indulge in chocolate, don't despair completely. Chocolate is so rich, it sometimes diminishes your appetite. Ann Schieber, WCCO Television News.
Carob is often considered a substitute for chocolate, but check the ingredient label if you're watching your weight. Many Carob products contain a high percentage of saturated fat.
I could see he had pain right here, but he wouldn't let on.
One day I'd be sure it was nothing. But then what if it was something?
I didn't want to worry anyone, you know, except myself.
Something, nothing, nothing, something then.
If you've been experiencing nagging chest pain, call the city's leading chest pain specialists. Call 874-4444 for Medformation, a service of Abbott Northwestern and Minneapolis Children's Medical Center.
So, I called.
The program No One Can Match just got better. Because you made January one of our most successful sales months ever, we're extending the guaranteed rebates. Now get our guaranteed highest rebate on every U.S.-built 1990 Dodge car. Get up to $1,500 on our sporty Daytonas, $1,000 back on Spirit, and $1,000 on Dodge Shadow. The guaranteed rebate. Nobody can match us. Not Ford, not Chevy, not the imports, only Dodge.
Tony's Pizza presents How to Be Italian.
The first thing you gotta learn in my school for Italians is the vowels. A, E, O, ooh. Next is a few catch Italian phrases. Forget about it, definitely. You know what I mean? Yo, who died and left you, boss? Pretty soon you'll be talking like a real paisan. You with me?
Brought to you by Tony's Frozen Pizza.
A real slice of Italian life.
Finally, a free checking account that won't nickel and dime you to death. Performance checking, only at Marquette. Most so-called free checking accounts have a way of sneaking up on you. Open a performance checking account only at Marquette.
Well, we have a lot of sports and very little time to get it in.
Well, let's get
Mr.
going
Rosen,
then.
We want to
All
hear
right.
it.
What's going on with the Minnesota Vikings? The hiring today of Tom Moore as the Vikings' assistant head coach, I think, signals a couple of major changes within the organization. First of all, make no mistake about it. The way things stack up, I think Tom Moore is going to be in charge of the Vikings offense. Why else would he leave as the Steelers' offensive coordinator? Which begs the question then, what happens with Bob Snelker? Where and what does he end up doing? Secondly, with all the pressure that Mike Lynn is under to make the Herschel Walker trade work, Moore would be the man. There are very few coaches in football who know more about the running game than Tom Moore, and Walker must become a major force next season. As for Moore coming here,
It was an opportunity to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm from Minnesota originally, and of course know the head coach up there very well, so I have a working knowledge of the situation and of the area geographically.
Tom Moore had 2 stints as offensive coordinator of the Gophers in the 70s. He's been with the Steelers for 13 years, 7 as their offensive coordinator. Jerry Burns recruited him to play quarterback at Iowa. Incidentally, Chris Dolman's bid to become a free agent and test the NFL market was given a major setback today when a Hennepin County district judge ruled against Chris Dolman. Kansas is #1 in college basketball with 5 Big Ten teams in the top 25. Michigan is 5th, Purdue 12th, Illinois fell to 15th. The Gophers stay at 17, and Michigan State is 21st. The Spartans, by the way, are outmanning Iowa tonight. Make that outmannings. Spartan sharpshooter Kirk Mans has been red hot. He's hit 8 of 14 from the three-point area tonight. Michigan State leads Iowa 76-57 late in that game. The bittersweet smell of victory for James Buster Douglas had a more pleasant aroma today. Douglas returned home to Columbus, Ohio in style. Mike Tyson in WBC and the WBA may not think he's the champ, but guess who has the belt? The long count controversy has spurred, of course, a veritable plethora of opinions, and the man should be #1. That's the way it stands right now. And up next, our weekly rec report, so stick around.
Not since everybody liked Ike. Not since Surreal Rocky became champ. Not since 1952 has a luxury sedan been named Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Introducing the new V8-powered Lincoln Town Car. The most spacious, the quietest, and the most technologically advanced luxury sedan ever to win Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Lincoln. What a luxury car should be.
In a world of inconsistencies, isn't it nice to have Marksman? Marksman herbicide consistently controls tough broadleaf weeds in corn year after year, field after field. Marksman works all the way to harvest with no carryover. So this year, get Marksman and have something you can depend on. Marksman herbicide for consistently cleaner corn.
And State by 2 over Tech. Now in local sports, Mrs. Robin Clark won a close game of Pizza Hut hoops over her son Jeremy in the family kitchen. Let's go to the tape. Early in the game, Mrs. Clark was brilliant. This bank shut off the light, put her up by 10. Then Jeremy came back with a barrage of three-pointers from the sink. But at the buzzer, Mrs. Clark's driving 360. Yes, left young Jeremy flat on the floor.
Little one-on-one.
While supplies last, pick up your Pizza Hut WCCO TV mini hoop at participating Pizza Hut restaurants.
Well, after months of reporting on adults and recreation, Ralph John Fritz gives us a twist this week, a rec report on kids.
Mark, we are happy to report that kids at a young age are still able to find recreation. Patrick Murphy of Apple Valley celebrated his 7th birthday by taking his buddies bowling. Patrick nearly became the first bowler in history to lead the 7, 8, 9, 10 split. Yes, recreation, no matter how young, is the greatest of all diversions. From bowling, it was on to the ice arena, where at this age, pictures are worth 1,000,000 words. And words are worth 1,000,000 laughs.
Like being goalie.
Why do you like being goalie, Bastion?
Because it's more fun. You don't have to skate around.
But don't you like to skate? What are the positions, do you know?
Goalie, center, wing, C, break.
Why did you pick hockey?
Because there's nothing to do in the winter. Football is inside, and I want something outside, too. left wing.
You like left wing? Why is that?
Well, it's just that you're a forward and you get to, go everywhere. Not like defense and goalie where we have to stay in one place.
I think what you're telling me is you like to get out there where you can score some goals.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Rec Sports is alive and well with photographer Rick Olson, Ralph John Fritz, and that's what we're trying to tell you on another Rec Report.
Well said.
The most honest answers in sports.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mark. That's the news. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
This is the 1990 Chevy Cavalier VL. Profile view, front view, rear view, aerial view, and its most winning view.
Compare Chevy Cavalier to Ford Escort. Cavalier has more passenger room, more engine, and more power, yet it's priceless. Can't see the comparison? Neither could I.
For value, nobody's winning like today's Chevrolet.
Out of stationery, Snyder's has a department full of writing paper and greeting cards.
Oh, Mimi, I love you. I want you. I must...
Out of perfume, Snyder's has 173 different fragrances for men and women.
The Midas Basic Brake Service, just $59 per axle with organic shoes or pads, and just $79 with semi-metallics. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
If you're using newspapers to hit the Twin Cities market, you'll miss the mark more than half of the time. Television, on the other hand, always makes an impact. TV advertising, twice the audience of newspaper, twice the impact.
They call him America's Godfather, and now he's untouchable. He's the reputed leader of one of the biggest mob families. He could be the most powerful man in New York. Today, the John Gotti story. On Inside Edition, our Gallup survey with Psychology Today reveals new attitudes. How are couples reinventing passion for the 90s? Find out on an Inside Edition special report, Faithful Attraction. He's in a lot of hot water with minorities, gays, and CBS. Today, all that and a few minutes about Andy Rooney.
Welcome to Inside Edition. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We're glad you're with us today. In just a few moments, we'll have a special poll on love and marriage, and you will be able to vote on whether Andy Rooney got a bad deal.